Aura is our proud presenting sponsor today. Matthew Peterson from Chat Sports here, telling you guys all about their all-in-one digital safety opportunity and company. And you can start your free trial today at aura.com/chatsports. We'll fill you in on more details about Aura later on in the show. But we've got some winners and losers to get to on the show. Now, I want to preface with this. It's OTAs. It is voluntary, and it is non-padded. So you're not a huge winner if you're a winner, and if you're a loser, you're probably not really even that much of a loser. So just take it with a little bit more than a grain of salt, whatever that molecule is. But here's my first winner, David Bell. I think if I didn't put Bell first, it would be a bit criminal. So David Bell, this is part 2 of our winners. We did winners and losers a couple weeks ago on the channel. But he has been taking majority of the starting reps at that slot wide receiver position, taking over from Jarvis Landry. And if you remember when Bell was drafted, there was a good sense of, ooh, does that spell doom for Landry coming back? So the 3rd-round pick in 2022, I think, was one of the steals of the draft. But he may have the biggest impact among all Browns rookies in 2022. I don't think this is the steal of the draft, but it may be a steal of the draft, okay? There was a lot of knock and hate against Bell leading up to the draft because of that horrible 40 time he had. But let's not forget, just because you don't go round 1 or even round 2 doesn't mean you can't be very successful in the NFL. In fact, here are some notable wide receivers who were taken in the 3rd round. Diontae Johnson for the Steelers. Scary Terry for Washington. He's one of the most underrated receivers in the game. Michael Gallup for the Cowboys. What about the most highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, the Triple Crown winner? Cooper Kupp was taken in round 3. Also had a bad 40 time. So you connect the dots. Chris Godwin was a 3rd-round pick. Tyler Lockett, T.Y. Hilton, and Emmanuel Sanders, all 3rd-round picks. David Bell at Purdue was voted the top wide receiver in the Big Ten for a reason. He amassed nearly 3,000 yards and under 30 games played. Okay? That's an average about 100 yards per game, 21 touchdowns to go along with it. The guy's just got sticky hands. I don't know how else to describe it other than when you throw the football his way, he's going to catch it more than anyone else. And David Bell has a great opportunity to shine for the Browns this year because he's going to get a ton of volume, right? You look at the wide receiver room and you think there's not a ton of stars out here that are going to steal all the targets. David Bell can absolutely ascend and make a name for himself in his rookie year. He's not going to be pushed down the depth chart because of a bunch of veterans. It's up for grabs after Amari Cooper. So, Dog Pound, do your thing. Welcome David Bell to the Dog Pound. Let's put his jersey number. We've done this before on the show, but I love it because you better believe rookies are name searching themselves, seeing what the fan base is saying about them. So let's show the guy some love. Put his jersey number down below. Speaking of rookies, we move on to the second winner, which is another rookie, Cade York, the kicker. We haven't really seen or heard much of him for quite some time, but the OTA session the Browns had on Wednesday, Cade York nailed a 60-yard field goal. How do you not get tossed into winners when you nail a 60-yard field goal? Especially when this is a position that you have not had much stability at for a little bit of time. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. But I want to tell everyone about Aura because you do more online than ever before. And Aura does more to keep you safe, okay? Protecting your identity, protecting your wallet. You can set limits, for example, on your credit card so that no hackster can run it up. But also with Aura, there won't be any hacksters that gets to your credit card or to your identity. My sister has had her identity stolen 5 times. It is an absolute nightmare to deal with. Do not let that happen to you, okay? Unfortunately, online hackers continue just to get better and better. So you just like how you have a lock on your door, you need to have a lock online. Get to Aura, start your free trial, aura.com/chatsports. Links in the comments and the description. Going back to our new friend Cade York, though, he was great for the LSU Tigers, right? 81.8% from field goal percentage, a 57-yard long. He was one of the best kickers in college football. So the obvious question is he the next Phil Dawson? right? Is he the next stable kicker that's not just here for a year, maybe 2 years, cycling in and out, looking for that long-term answer? Because the Browns have been chasing that really since Phil Dawson, okay? And when he was with the Cleveland Browns, he was awesome. And that's not news to any of us, but it's also been a little while, so I think it's worth refreshing our memory. He was an 84% field goal kicker for the Browns during his 14 years by the lake. 56-yard long in his career. And lately, we haven't seen anything that could really come close to consistent at 84%. In fact, look at the kickers for the Browns the last 5 seasons, okay? The predominant kickers here. This is the team's field goal percentage each season. Last year, McLaurin got off to an awesome start. It didn't end that way, unfortunately. Cody Parkey was pretty good, coming off the double doink. Siebert, he was actually better than maybe expectations were going into the season. Greg Joseph and Zane Gonzalez, they weren't it. So there has been a rotation at that kicking position. I know it's just kickers, but let's be honest, it's actually one of the most underappreciated, most undervalued in terms of how important they are positioned in sports. Hey, if you are a new viewer, watcher, and you want to subscribe to the channel, well, make sure you do so, because everyone that's new that comments me down below, I'll give you guys a shout out here. That's what makes Chat Sports chat, right? It's the interactive. It's the two-way conversation. So subscribe, comment me, and boom, I'll be giving you a shout out on a future Browns report. My third OTA winner is Jacob Phillips. Yeah, we're going to go with a little under-the-radar names here. Former third-round pick out of LSU just 2 years ago that has kind of disappeared, unfortunately, all due to injuries, okay? But in his brief career so far, where he's only played 13 games, there are his stats: 42 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. There's big expectations that something will turn around this season. Hopefully he does not get injured in training camp again like he did last year. But there's an opportunity for him to make a real competition out of this, right? JOK is first off, the Browns, for the most part, are only going to have 2 linebackers on the field. They like to run a lot of nickel and dime packages and get an extra DB out there. But I think it could be a big training camp battle between Anthony Walker and Jacob Phillips. That's my under-the-radar training camp battle to keep an eye on. We all know the battle at wide receiver for wide receiver 2. Defensive tackle is up for grabs, but just keep an eye on Jacob Phillips, because a former third-round pick, there's a lot of potential right there. Unfortunately, injuries have just gotten in the way of that, but hopefully in year 3, he can stay healthy and he can look like the awesome linebacker he was down in Baton Rouge. Next up, we got some losers, because in life, there are winners and there are losers. Now, these losers are not a big capital L. It's like a little thin case, lowercase l, because they're not real big losers. Now, before we show the list of losers, who's your biggest winner from OTAs, okay? Is it David Bell, Cade York, or Jacob Phillips? Or you want to go a different direction? Anyways, fine. Just let me know down below who your biggest winner from OTAs was for the Browns. We're on to losers, though, because like I said, in life, there are winners and losers, and my first loser is, unfortunately, Demetric Felton. The guy, where does he fit in? That's the big issue right now, okay? Because when you look at this depth chart here, you're only going to take, most rosters only do about 3 running backs, maybe a 4th for a fullback if you kind of run that offense. Well, Chubb and Hunt are locks. Diontae Johnson is a lock as well, assuming he does not get traded. So then after that, you got Felton, Ford. John Kelly's also pretty damn good, but there's no way he can crack this roster. And you got Johnny Stanton, right? Your fullback. So where does Felton fit in? He might be the odd man out. I've said before, maybe Barry will try to get creative and take 5 guys, right? Kind of call Felton a flex, a gadget, running back, wide receiver. But it's starting to stack up against him, because they're giving him a lot of reps at wide receiver, testing out how that looks. And if that doesn't look great for him over mandatory minicamp and into training camp, I worry about where he's going to fit in. Last season for the Browns, he was asked to do a lot, right? Between punt and kick returns, some running out of the backfield, and some receptions here and there. Overall, 18 receptions for a $181 and 2 touchdowns. He had 32 punt returns for 227 yards. It was a 6th-round pick here. So I felt that he exceeded expectations last year. I think he was just a little caught off guard when they brought back Diontae Johnson and they drafted Jerome Ford. All of a sudden, then you go, whoa. Where does Felton fit in this group? Because we're running out of lockers. So that's one of my biggest losers from OTA so far. Kevin Stefanski is my next loser. Again, pump the brakes. Don't start yelling at your screen. Not because he's done anything wrong, but every single press conference he has, after every training camp session, OTA session, open up to the media, it just becomes a questionnaire about Deshaun Watson. That's gotta suck, right? For a lot of reasons. One, he probably would like to talk about some other players that are doing great things that we should be knowing and hearing more about. But instead, and to no fault to anyone's own, the media is going to ask about the biggest story, Deshaun Watson. So they asked Stefanski, hey, is this kind of annoying? And he said that. He said this, I would not characterize it that way. I do understand that you have a job to do, so I'm just going to provide as much information as I can when I can. This is what I'm saying. It sucks for Browns fans because wouldn't you like to hear Stefanski talk about other stuff? Give us some more insight on what it's looking like at the defensive tackle battle, at the wide receiver battle, the actual football and not just the latest Watson news and whatnot where he doesn't actually provide any information. He's just a coach, right? So he just does coach talk. He beats around the question. He gives a political answer that doesn't actually leave you knowing more than before you ask the question. So, sucks for Browns fans. That's why I've got Stefanski as a loser. My final loser is Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk. Oh, Mike. Mike Florio wants Deshaun Watson locked up in Guantanamo Bay. If you don't follow him on Twitter, I might get blocked for doing this. But he has some awesome articles here and there. He provides good insight. But when it comes to Watson, it's pretty obvious where he stands on what the NFL should do. Here's what he tweeted out not long ago, just yesterday. With each additional development, it feels more and more appropriate for the NFL to put Deshaun Watson on paid leave until the 24 lawsuits and possibly more against him are resolved. Well, hold up for a second, because both lawyers have agreed when the NFL season starts, this is going on pause. So nothing will happen from a law side of things from August 1st or some mid-July until March. So if we have to wait till it's resolved, that means he's out the entire season, right? That's what deciphering this tweet means. Now, Roger Goodell, a while ago, was asked about this and about what could look like for Watson this year. And here's what he said. If the criminal, meaning cases, had proceeded, that would more likely have triggered commissioners exempt. I think at this point, a civil case in and of itself would not do that. If there's a violation of the personal conduct policy, that may trigger something, but that would more likely trigger some kind of discipline in some fashion. That's where it's a bit contradictory, right? Between what Florio is saying, which is until this is resolved, paid leave, keep him away. Whereas Goodell said, if it's just civil, I'm not going to put him on the commissioner's list, which is the paid leave, right? Which is you're not playing football. So there's some disagreement right there. Now, Florio and Chops, they love to go back and forth on Twitter. Team Chops in that regard. So it's a fun battle, but yeah. Sorry, Mike. You're one of my 3 biggest losers. We've been doing some stadium competition talk here at the channel because it may be on the to-do list for a new stadium name. First Energy may be out. So we've been doing a bracket challenge, and here are 4 names that I'm going to ask you guys to vote on for your favorite one. If you like Jim Brown Stadium, type 1. If you like Cardiac Kids Field, that's a creative one, type 2. If you like Lakefront Stadium, type 3. Or if you want to pay some respect to our veterans and service members and go with War Memorial Stadium, type 4. Let me know. I'll be tallying up the votes, and we'll be doing a final 4 sometime in the middle of next week. But get your votes in down below.